Pearson Rabbit's story begins with Dr. Stephanie Pearson, a passionate OBGYN at the height of her career. When a shoulder injury struck during a precipitous delivery, her dreams were shattered, leaving her unable to practice medicine. Determined to make a difference, Stephanie became an advocate for her peers, guiding them through the complex disability process. Alongside insurance expert Scott Ravitz, Stephanie founded Pearson Ravitz, a company determined to approach insurance differently. Together, they set their mission to educate and empower physicians to protect their most valuable asset, their income, and the most important people in their life, their family. Today, Pearson Ravitz serves the medical community in all 50 states. At Pearson Ravitz, they understand the unique concerns of physicians. Physician-founded and physician-focused, Pearson Ravitz builds human connections before they create quotes. Life can change in an instant. It's hard to imagine that a sudden illness or injury could leave you and your family in a devastating financial situation. But with a little planning and guidance, you can prepare for every possibility. Visit PearsonRavitz.com today to schedule your consultation with a Pearson Ravitz advisor.
Finally, a source of raw, real, and honest information on healthcare issues that matter most. Welcome to BS Free MD. From the latest medical information to how to stay sane as a doctor or a patient, no subject is taboo, no BS is allowed. Now, let's welcome your hosts, Doctors May and Tim Hindmarsh.
Welcome to Doctales with Cocktales, live from Las Vegas. If you're joining us on the replay, if you are watching live, and somebody is, hooray. Thanks for joining us tonight on this Wednesday and the middle of the hump day, and for being here with us. We really appreciate you guys that join us and our fans. So anytime you have any thoughts, comments, chime in, and we want to interact with you. Guess what? Where are we, Tim?
We're in Vegas.
We are on vacation this week together. Imagine that. And we're doing something fun with our friends. We are doing what is near and dear to Tim's heart, going to Barrett Jackson Auction, not buying a car, but just looking. And if you haven't ever been to Barrett Jackson, it's actually an amazing thing if you're into cars, if you like them at all, or even a little bit, new or old. There's something there for everybody. We've gone a couple of times in Arizona. It's been amazing. But we thought we can't not do a show and be there for our fans. And so we thought we would sit here in our lovely hotel room and bring you updates on the show. So tonight, what we're going to talk about is Vegas, of course, as well as as well as some current things in the news that came out this week that I found interesting. Of course, they're Vegas-y, including alcohol.
Don't get into a submarine.
Yeah, sadly.
Sorry.
Don't get into a submarine. Now, all about some news about alcohol consumption as well as tattoos. Because, you know, who doesn't go to Vegas and get a tattoo, right? And a few other things I found. And then we might have to cut it at that. So
like nobody has made a bad decision in Vegas that's actually lasted for the rest of their life. So, like getting a tattoo seems like the ultimate irony of, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know syphilis could last for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Fortunately or unfortunately, we are not talking about STD update information. If you need advice on that,
we don't give medical advice, especially on Facebook, especially when we're drinking.
I think
this is for entertainment purposes only.
You can look it up as far as the dose of the Z-Pack or Rocephin shot you need. But anyway, sadly, I wanted to do this from poolside because it would be much more fun, but it is baking out there right now. It is 95 degrees plus in the beautiful desert land of Las Vegas. And guess what? We are sitting inside so the computer doesn't melt. And who's wearing a sweater? Moi. And you know why I'm wearing a sweater? Not just because I'm a lizard and Tim has it tattooed on his back, because they love their air conditioning here. And it's 68 degrees in the hallway of these hotels and
Yeah,
shopping malls. But
it's so cold. How cold is it? It's so cold that when I come from outside to inside and I put a shirt on, I have to put Band-Aids over my nipples so I don't chafe. That's how cold it is in the buildings.
And he tried to steal them off of one of those showgirls on the strip that wanted to take pictures with them, but
apparently that ends badly.
That ends poorly. That's for what not to do at night in Vegas.
So let's try something. We're going to mute this, and just for a quick second, we're going to go. And
hang on. All right, Tim, take us around the room and show us a little bit of what you're seeing. We have an amazing view that encompasses some of the new.
So this is really cool. You got to see this.
Construction.
Oh, almost fell down. So this out there, that facility that's being produced, that is the paddock. That's going to be the pit area for the F1 race. They are pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into this city for the F1 race coming up in November. They have a 10-year contract with Formula One. And then we'll race over here to the other room. I'm in the master bedroom. And down here, the Alara, Hilton Grand Vacations. Unbelievable, great property. They're repaving all of the streets. It's complete chaos for the next 6 months so that they can get the road surface ready for the F1 drivers. If they were NASCAR drivers, they wouldn't care. But, they're driving $21 million cars, and apparently they want the pavement to be smooth. So we'll switch back to the regular cam, and I will leave. Look at that.
There we go. Yeah, so first off, let's do a little shout out and plug for Hilton. And only because, not because we were at an owner update today, but because we confess we are timeshare owners. We love our Hilton. And I will say that, we've stayed in some places, and I'm not trying to sell it. I'm just, because everybody vacations differently. The way I vacation is I wouldn't probably vacation very much. And this forces me to, because I don't want to lose my points. We use them in the hotels. We use them on the timeshare. And we've been blessed to be able to take friends, family, on big family vacations with our.
Well, we've stayed places we would have never stayed.
And stayed places we have.
And maybe you can make whatever financial argument you want. For us, it's the convenience. We show up. We know exactly what we're going to get. We know what the food's going to be like. We know what the room's going to be like. Anywhere we go in the entire world, it's absolutely amazing. We stayed at the Waldorf Astoria using hotel points, and we were just absolutely blown away. At Waldorf Astoria in London, yeah. We walked to the theater because it was in the West End. It was absolutely, absolutely spectacular. We've enjoyed it. It's not necessarily for everybody, but man, we have used the absolute heck out of it.
We have a couple of episodes coming up on our podcast in the future about financial management decisions. And I don't know if we talk about it then, but you're right. Everybody vacations differently. If you actually own a timeshare, comment below and let us know if you do, if you like it, or if you don't like it. And I think that would be kind of a fun discussion.
Speaking of timeshares,
so wait.
I want to just get to my. You can go first. I do want to get to my section of, if you get trapped in a bad presentation, how to get out of it.
Oh gosh.
Because I'm an expert.
So we weren't planning on talking about this, but I think since we're here and he showed you around the room, this room that we have is a massive, I think it's almost bigger than the house we're living in now.
No, I know it's bigger than the house we're living in.
And we used it with our points. We have plenty of other points. We're having some friends join us. We each get our own massive master suite. But what was I going to say? The thing about it is, since, Tim was showing you around the room and the view that we have, is it's allowed us to go to places like London, Vegas, Hawaii. I go there all the time and stay in a place that I wouldn't pay for.
Well, and there'll be opening a Grand Vacation Club in Smuts, Saskatchewan. No, they won't,
yes,
because no one lives in Smuts, but there is a place called Smuts.
So anyway, for us, it really forces me to take the vacation that I should. I know that for some people it doesn't pencil out, and you talk about paying all that money. Our kids are super excited because we do own 2 properties. So one child will be getting one property, the other child will be getting the other, but because there are deeds that pass on. But it works for us the way we like to vacation. It's predictable. We love the product. We use it. And we had an amazing experience here at the Alara with the 2 gentlemen that we met this evening. Yay, Ray. You were very kind and awesome. And
Anthony was so cool. We might invite him on the show, honestly. But that's,
and Anthony,
ass kissing aside.
Anyway, so I'm just going to say that's great, but for some people it doesn't work. So Mitch says
Smuts Church is scary.
So Mitch must own timeshare at Smuts.
In Smuts.
In Smuts.
And there is a place called Smuts. Look it up. Not Sluts, Smuts. Sluts, Vegas, yes. I digress.
Anyway,
so yesterday, I must get to this. So yesterday, we're walking through one of the massive shopping areas, and somehow we got cornered into this salesperson, and she was great, and she was trying to get us into a different property to go do a different timeshare presentation.
You're not going to say what it is. It starts with a W.
Yeah, it rhymes with Wyndham. But anyways, that's aside. So she's going to do this, and then but the presentation isn't in the shopping mall. They have to Uber you, kidnap you, and take you to this other place where the presentation indoctrination camp is. And
it's only we can see it from our room.
Right.
But anyway,
but they needed $40 down payment to take you for a 2-hour presentation. I looked at her after this and I said, look, I'm really hungry. We have to go out for dinner.
Coincidentally, her kids' names were the same as
our kids.
Children.
Like what are the chances?
And of course, see my skin?
She has nice skin.
It was nice skin. I thought it was funny, right. The sales tactics that they use.
Yes. But anyways, the
only reason I was interested was like, another week of free vacation, and they're going to give me, what was the gift card?
I don't.
How many of you get sucked into this stuff? Anyway, Tim was about 50 grams short on his protein load for the afternoon, and was starting to get
about 0.09 over the legal limit.
No.
And so I said, look, I appreciate this. I'm not giving you my credit card. And if I have to go someplace, if I have to go someplace,
charge us for a presentation with,
but it's refundable. It's refundable. If I have to pay for my hostage taking, I looked at her and I said, you will be calling the police on me halfway through this presentation, because that's how angry I'll be. And so I saved everybody a lot of grief, including myself, because apparently going to jail in Clark County is not fun.
And we have this thing, I think it's, we talked about it on our last podcast, how we can telepathically at this point communicate. I think we have this thing now down where when he's the bad cop in those situations and I'm good cop.
Who would have guessed?
So if it's like, yeah, I'm kind of interested, and he knows when to like shut up and just listen, because he can get the vibe from me that things are going well. And that I'm like, okay, this might sound like a good deal. Just wait. And then it gets to the point where I'm kind of like looking at the fine print and feeling out. I'm like, this is a situation that I'm like, forget it. Let's get us out of here. Anyway, I kind of can look at him. He looks at me, and then he turns into, he turns into the bad cop guy. And basically he just pulls the plug. I look at him and go, it's time for you to be the closer and get us.
Essentially what this was, is I'm Maverick and she's Goose, and we're in a flat spin, and all I hear in my headset is eject, eject, eject. So I'm reaching between my legs and I'm pulling the levers. And guess what, kids? We're both going for a ride.
What did you say to the lady about the place?
What's that?
What did you say about something about there was not enough protein?
Oh, we were at another timeshare presentation in Hawaii, which was literally a hostage taking. And I said to her, you could take all the protein out of my food and keep me awake for 3 days and I still wouldn't buy this. Then they let us go. So somehow we keep going. I don't that one's on us.
Yeah. Anyway, this is an interactive episode.
Wow, what is this purpose?
And someone has written, and I cannot pronounce your name. If you would help with the
that
pronunciation,
is,
that would help me not butcher your name, because I don't like it when people butcher our name.
I think it's in Arabic.
So
what is this purpose?
This is entertainment.
There is no purpose.
Tonight it is entertainment.
I'm sorry, this
only.
Is purposeless.
If you
need purpose,
if you want to stick around.
Those are religious questions. Unfortunately, we're not answering those today. We do answer them sometimes on the podcast, but today not so much.
Today is kind of fun and silliness. So, yes. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things. So we were lying by the pool today before it got to be 95 degrees this morning. One of the things I respect about Tim now is that he actually, because people always have asked me over the years, he just goes, go, go, go. Like, how do you like live with that? And you're right. We get vacation very differently 25 years ago than we do now. We had to have a morning activity, an afternoon activity, and an evening activity. And usually those activities were not sightseeing, they were sports. Very exhausting. And with kids, it was like, oh my gosh. So Tim is now mellowing out. I would tell people that during holidays, he was all go. And then when he got home, pretty much he was recovering as well. And so not so useful. Anyway, now as we're getting older, he's able to sit and lie by the pool with me. And so we were lying by the pool today, and I was kind of just looking up some information about Vegas to share with you. I was trying to find some trendy medical stuff that's happening in the news as well as Vegas related. And this is kind of some highlights that I found. Anyway, apparently just recently this came out that the Nevada governor.
It's Nevada, not Nevada.
Okay, we're gonna go down
there. It irritates the living hell out of people that live here. I'm sorry. It's not Oregon, it's Oregon. I think you should pronounce it the way the people that live there pronounce it. I'm sorry.
Nevada.
I'm sorry. I'll say it as a Canadian. I'm Siri.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Apparently, if you're into weed and marijuana, the Nevada governor signed a new marijuana reform bill into law. And this basically was to approve a bill that allows you to pretty much almost double the limit on adult use cannabis possession and purchases. So prior to this, you could only own like an ounce, I think legally, of marijuana. And now it's 2.5 ounces that's illegal. I don't even really, I know what those are metrically because we do medicine and it's all in metrics, but I'm like, I don't use it. But they also included some other things in the new cannabis regulations that actually people who had a criminal record before were not allowed to work in weed shops. Now you can.
It used to be that the only people that sold weed had a criminal record.
Yeah. So
who would have thought?
People with prior convictions now actually can work in facilities. And so I guess they say they don't want to treat them like criminals. They're not any harm to society. But if you're into marijuana and you use that as a recreational substance, you can own 2.5 times as much. So
wow, yippee-ki-yay. No, it's interesting because it's interesting because Vegas has changed a lot. It became very corporatized after essentially Steve Wynn started the corporatization of Vegas, which was the Mirage. Before that, we have to owe our thanks to the development of the city to organized crime because they essentially built Las Vegas. Yeah, and there's no question about that. Everyone knows that. And Steve Wynn came in, built the Mirage, kind of sort of the corporatization of Vegas. And it's fascinating because you can't walk the strip now in the evening without being in an absolute blue cloud of weed smoke, which, you can judge that for however you want, if that's positive or negative. But they kind of deporned the place. There's way less of the handing out of the dancers coming to your room. The trucks driving around with the giant signs of, whatever.
Not way less, like almost none.
It's wild.
When we came here 20 years ago, that was like the street and sidewalks were littered with those cards all over the place. Definitely a place that you wouldn't want to ever bring your kids, elementary school kids, because it's littered everywhere, and it was gross because it's just like, get it out of my face. Now, you almost have to know where to look for it. They have a few people handing stuff out, but nothing like that at all compared to before. So it definitely is becoming more of a family destination than before. I always said, who would bring their kids to Vegas? I still kind of think it's kind of not the place to bring them, but there's a lot more things to do and see. So it's more of a family destination.
Yeah, I still don't know why kids. Like people bring infants here. Like, what are you going to do with an infant here? Literally, they're a human anchor. Oh, I'm going to go drinking. No, I have an infant. I'm going to go to the casino. No, I have an infant. It's 4 billion degrees outside. Let's go to the pool. Yes, and cook our kid. No, I don't get. I get people vacation different, whatever. Statements. I don't get that.
We pretty much said that about all infant travel, any destination. What do you say? Well,
Correct.
we had when our kids were really tiny. We
didn't take them across the street.
No. So
we did.
If you
remember that time we went to buy the television, and it was in the 71 Chevelle, and our son was in the car seat, and he was really little, and that was before the rear, like and his head was all. He couldn't hold his head up, and I'm like, my gosh, like we might have killed the kid because we cut off his circulation.
His head was so big because look at that head, that his head fell forward, looked like he was blocking his airway, and
that's apparently how you get a valedictorian
and a top rated ROTC Air Force cadet.
Yeah, and a distinguished military graduate. That's it, kids. It's
all right. So here's some other fun news. Nevada and Vegas is associated with drinking, partying, and all kinds of debauchery. So here's some news-related information in the alcohol realm. So this study came out in the journal Nutrients, which I'm not that familiar with, but this was on this article I'm reading is from the 20th of June that reveals that wine consumption has an inverse relationship to cardiovascular mortality. So for those of you that didn't
what you're
understand,
telling me, it means the more you drink, the less risk of dying of a heart attack.
Yes.
What May is saying is fame. I'm going to live forever. I'm going to learn how to fly. Hey! That's what you just said.
Tim has reached immortality. It has to be wine. This is wine we're talking about. So for those of you that are Italian, French, or just big wine drinkers, I'm thinking of Angie.
Well, then never mind. If it's vodka, I guess I'm screwed.
You're done. And let's define what the quantity is. So let's unpack this study a little bit. So the researchers performed this review and meta-analysis of cardiovascular risk, and they looked at 3 factors: coronary heart disease, cardiovascular deaths, and morbidity and mortality. And basically, what they found, I'll summarize it, was that they found that alcohol consumption that was wine specifically, and beer had a different outcome. Wine consumption actually decreased your risk for cardiovascular negative effects as long as it was mild to moderate consumption. And that means less than 14 alcoholic beverages of wine per week.
Well, I've almost never drank more than 14 a day, so I should be in perfect shape.
Yeah. 14 servings of wine per week.
A week?
Yeah, per week.
Oh, never mind.
Per week. And how that was statistically significant was basically because what they found and how it worked was that red wine itself has
red wine.
I knew this was
Close to me.
The red wine itself has not just antioxidants like phenolic compounds, and here's some big names for you: catechins, gallic acids, flavonoids, antioxidant properties. It actually lowers your risk for clotting. It reduced the LDLs in your body, or lipoproteins, and decreased thrombosis risk in the plasma and lipid peroxide. So the other thing that they found was that it decreased anxiety and stress, and they could measure this in a part of the body called the amygdala, which is in the brain, which is something that triggers stress response and increases your body's cortisol, and that is measured through CRP, cortisol levels, etc. So that itself, they think, is why people did better.
You want a stress-free amygdala.
Yeah, there you go.
I just like saying amygdala. Isn't that fun? Amygdala.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me think about that for a second. I think I'm actually confusing that with another study I read about longevity and the use of alcohol consumption. Let me double check here. Yes. So this study, sorry, my bad, on the use of red wine consumption was truly on cardiovascular risk. Past 14 drinks of wine per week, your risk goes up. Less than that, it definitely improves cardiovascular risk factors. And that should be pretty obvious.
Yeah, but
beer consumption
right.
is totally different, and that's probably because there's so much
But I want to
carbohydrates in it.
Right.
Does that mean that everybody should go out and start drinking a ton of wine?
No. No.
It's definitely, the researchers said that it's in their meta-analysis, and that's like looking back and comparing it. They think that that's why the Mediterranean diet works, because they have small consumption of wine daily.
Yeah.
Usually it's less than 6 ounces per day of red wine.
I think there's a massive caveat here, which is any of these behavioral studies, any diet study, any alcohol study, I mean, they're very, very difficult to remove confounders. And it took a long time, even in cigarette consumption, to figure out what the confounders were and go, okay, yeah, it's actually smoking cigarettes that's giving you heart disease and lung cancer. It took a really long time to figure that out, because it's like, well, is it because people are poor? Is it because rich people drink wine and they have other activities that, enforce their health? Is it because, like, there's just a gazillion, it's very, very difficult. This has been studied over and over and over again. There's probably some net benefit to drinking wine, especially red wine. The alcohol itself is probably beneficial in reasonably low doses. But ultimately it's poison. So to say to somebody, just start drinking is kind of ridiculous. The other thing that alcohol does that people don't understand is it lowers insulin resistance. Did you know that? It lowers insulin resistance.
Interesting.
So, but again, there's a very, very important concept in medicine to understand, which is threshold events. Things do a good thing at a certain dose over a certain period of time. And then when you exceed that, they can do a super bad thing. So 14 drinks a week for somebody that weighs 180 pounds might be actually beneficial to your health. 12 drinks a day will kill you. So it's very important. Like, everything's like that. in medicine. It's thresholds. Exercise to a certain point is good. And then after a certain point, it's actually a net negative.
Right. And so obviously we say, and the researchers have said that obviously you have to take all of this into consideration. I'm thinking back to, when they came out with the coffee studies and so forth and said caffeine is good, then caffeine's bad. And, moderation,
Yeah.
It's a neurostimulant. The same with alcohol. Obviously,
Yeah, but the other one, the scab I want to pick is nicotine is probably good for you. Let's open that can very briefly.
Well, just a second. So let me wrap this up. And basically, yes, the gist of it is that alcohol consumption, is tied with all kinds of diseases, and increased suicides, anxiety, depression, etc. So we're not endorsing that everybody go running out and starting to.
We're not
drink.
endorsing anything. We're just drinking Kettle One on a show called Doctales with Cocktales.
But
that's us.
The BS free part is that yes, alcohol kind of is its own category of medicine and food.
Delicious medicine.
Sorry, category of food. It's not a protein, carb, or fat. And
it is almost its own macro.
Yeah, it's its own macro.
It is. It's small.
So all in all, small doses of red wine, it has to be the red wine, is probably protective to your cardiovascular health if you look at all other things considered in this study. So take that with a grain of salt. Don't let a little bit of wine freak you out.
Take it with a grain of nicotine, because nicotine is also potentially neuroprotective in Alzheimer's. Think of that one and have your brain explode.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't dug deep into the research. I really want to. Smoking is terrible. The nicotine itself in smoking is probably, I have not been able to find anything that shows a net negative. It's definitely, I don't know if I hate the word addiction in a lot of respects because it's behaviors, but it's definitely a substance that's very easy to become dependent on. But it's a neurostimulant. It helps you focus. It may be neuroprotective. It's the delivery system that sucks. Really inhaling almost anything other than air is probably not good for you. There's some other stuff that might be, steam or whatever. But the whole idea of burning a weed and inhaling it, probably not going to be good for your health. The actual drug, probably not bad.
So you prefer to chew yours?
No, I just buy the little packets and let the dopamine centers delight in themselves.
So there was what I was referring to earlier when I was talking about the part of that brain with the amygdala center with stress. Is there was another study I did look at that talks about how people who consumed small doses of alcohol daily, which would be considered one drink or on average, less than 14 per week for sure, did end up having longer lives and longevity. And it was about longevity. And they think it is because the part of the brain then that gets stimulated, the amygdala, which is a stress.
I love getting my amygdala stimulated.
Stress-related area.
Seriously.
Actually gets calmed down. So is it just because the alcohol is calming the people down because they have their drink and they're not worried about stuff? Then the amygdala tones down and doesn't release and stimulate cortisol to be produced, which is then not likely to cause inflammatory things to happen in the body. Who knows? But that was a fascinating thing to read. So when you read and hear a lot of things, and I'm currently reading Dr. Peter Attia's book, is it Outlive, talking about centenarians. It's all over the map. A lot of these people have all the bad habits, and some of them do drink daily. And, you got to wonder, is it because just one cocktail and not overdoing it is enough to just de-stress them enough so that their cortisol and inflammatory markers and their cardiovascular inflammatory cascade does not happen. And they have just, they don't feel deprived. They have less stress, and that in itself decreases all those inflammatory things in their body. So that was a separate thing. So I had to correct myself. So There you go.
You stand corrected.
Yes. All right. I was going to ask if you had anything else you wanted to bring up, but I was looking up some other. I'm thinking it's Vegas. What other things do you do and think of in Vegas? Like, I don't know, maybe getting a tattoo. No, do you think of that?
Yeah, but I get it. Like okay, I would travel virtually anywhere in the world to get tattooed by somebody that I really trusted and I knew their artwork, and because it's permanent, it's not cheap to get good tattoos. And maybe I'm sure there's guys here that are really, really famous and really good, so that makes sense. My guess is most of them don't work in malls, so the whole mall tattoo thing, wow, that one's that's tripping me out.
There is a lot of mall tattooing going on. So I thought I would look up to see if there was any data or stats on people getting more tattoos on vacation or in Vegas, etc. Because
I think it's just drunk people. I think the message is drunk people do stupid drunk people shit.
Like when you came home from Sturgis with that stupid drawing on your arm?
Yes, because I believe firmly everyone needs at least one really bad tattoo. And I have at least two really bad ones.
You got that.
And I have some really good ones.
So he got that fixed. It was pretty bad. In fact, was it me or was it one of the kids that said, did a kindergartner draw that on your arm? It was it's the number 75.
75. Yeah.
And then they had to ink around it and make it pretty. So, when I was in Hawaii, I noticed a bunch of people getting tattoos. I'm like, do people just do this on vacation?
Yes.
Because they have time, right, more money. And do people do it in Vegas? And what's the data?
We should sell timeshare tattoos. Like, draw people into the sales experience of you're in Hawaii. You could never get a turtle tattooed on you anywhere but in Hawaii. So, this is the home of the churro, or the hadu, as we say in the native language.
From what I could find, no, there's no higher incidence of tattooing in Vegas.
There isn't?
No.
Really?
No.
Good. People are using their minds.
And then, of course, I got interested in actually what tattoos do to the immune system. Because myself having some autoimmune disorder and dysfunction, and there's been a lot of talk about getting tattoos to distract your immune system so that it settles down and has something else to occupy, which is fighting off like a new invader in the body, the ink that goes in when you get tattooed and the immune response. And I wanted to see I've heard about this before, so I was kind of researching.
The reason tattoos fade is because mast cells, which are a specific immune cell, are eating the ink from the inside of your body.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
There's been some studies done by this gentleman, Christopher Lin, and there's a couple articles I read.
Shin Lin, the guy that does the card games here down the street.
Good night. Okay, if you didn't catch that sound effect, Tim did. He was trying to replicate a master magician, and he failed. If you're listening. So, interestingly enough, this researcher had done a study at the, I have to find it, a few years ago, one of the prominent universities here in the U.S. And then he went to Samoa because Samoa has a very big culture where tattooing is a very important part of their culture.
They hammer it into you.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
and so
interesting.
What he did in Samoa, as well as back at, I think it was the University of Oklahoma, I'll have to look, or Alabama, I believe. Yeah, it's the University of Alabama.
Because there's no shitty tattoos in Alabama.
They went to
none.
They partnered with some tattoo shops.
Sorry, that one just made me laugh.
Got people,
no regrets, baby. No regrets.
Who obviously consented to have saliva as well as some blood drawn to measure inflammatory markers, common ones, CRP, their blood count done, and immunoglobulin A, which is released.
Immunoglobulin A.
Yes.
Which is very powerful in Canada.
And is also very powerful for allergic responses.
I got my immunoglobulin A.
Enough.
Immunoglobulin A.
as well as some other inflammatory markers that it doesn't really matter.
Trying to
what I
make
go
you
to.
lose
Yes,
your shit.
you
And
are.
is it going to have to be a tickle fight?
So he measured these, and they did find that what happens is immediately upon getting tattooed, there's an increase and a surge in these immune function markers and release. And then it's almost like your immune system goes into overdrive because it's fighting this inflammatory response. And almost like what we do with what we thought we were doing with the vaccine, you're inducing a foreign substance into the body, then your immune system has to respond and build up more production of the immunoglobulins, mast cells, white blood cells to get stronger to fight off a foreign body. And basically, I'll summarize really quickly, but people that do have multiple tattoos, and as well as those that sit for long periods of time under excess, time and pain involved.
I've done 13 and a half hours.
Yeah. Produce higher levels of antibody response and do have a heightened sense and heightened immune response in their system compared to people without them.
But how long does it last?
Yeah. So how long that lasts, he hasn't commented on.
So it doesn't mean anything.
But in general, they think that it definitely helps your immune system. It boosts it. But this is not to autoimmune diseases specifically. It is more to in things that attack your system. So viruses, colds, etc. So if you think, and I know that people talk about getting a tattoo as a way to distract your immune system from going on overdrive, doesn't seem to be the case.
So the problem is this. There's two kinds of immune responses. There's an immune response that heightens your response to an antigen. In other words, you get a cold or you get like a hepatitis B vaccine, and your body builds immunity and T cell immunity and memory immunity to hepatitis B. So if you get the actual hepatitis B, you don't get the infection because your body is already prepared to fight it, and it fights it off. You don't get the infection. Okay, that's fine. But then there's another kind of immune response that we use in medicine, which is allergy shots. Well, allergy shots are also inducing an antigen, just like a vaccine.
Right.
But it's inducing an antigen to tell your body that they need to ignore this. And so as you step up the doses over time, you get a blunted immune response to those antigens. So if you're allergic to bees, they give you a little tiny bit of bee venom, and then a little bit more and a little bit more, and your body learns to ignore it. And that's the danger of the development of any kind of vaccine, is when you're developing them, you don't know if you're actually making a immune generating vaccine that stops transmission, which is really what a vaccine is supposed to do, or whether you are building an allergy shot that decreases your sensitivity to the antigen so you actually don't ever fight it again. I won't mention anything in particular, but you can put your thinking cap or your tinfoil thinking cap on and go, if we get a dose of an immune modulating agent and it only lasts 6 months, and then we need more and more doses of it every 6 months, is it actually making me more resistant to that antigen? Or is it teaching my body to ignore that antigen? So I know the people that have had a certain cold 6 times seem to be the people that have had more immune exposure to the made up immune agent than the people that just got it naturally. I don't know. I didn't say that.
Are you referring to any, recent anecdotal evidence for that?
No, I'm referring to common sense and opening your frickin' eyes and looking around.
So,
but you have to understand that. Like, we will do a show. Speaking of shows, we should probably wrap this up. Please find us at bsfreemd.com. Give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you for watching. This was a really good episode as far as numbers, at least.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate that. Tomorrow's podcast is Dr. Susan Landers, retired NICU physician, an amazing woman, unbelievably committed to her career, retired and took that passion and drove it into how can I help working mothers, and specifically working breastfeeding mothers, to take care of their kids and their careers at the same time, to be the best moms and the best career professionals that they can be. Great episode.
Yeah.
Listen to wise people that have lived a few years. They are amazing. What else we have? A lot of crazy stuff coming up. We had, Dr. Peter McCullough, 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, spectacular episode.
Yes. If you haven't listened to that one,
he is complete. We should have called that Peter Unchained. He is out of corporate medicine. He's living his best life.
He's a little more relaxed for sure.
Yeah. And I actually made him laugh, which
was that. I think that was Tim's mission.
That was my mission. When we interviewed Harvey Rich last time and I made him laugh twice, I'm like, okay, that's it. I can die now. These guys are so serious and so into data. And we try to put a little lighter polish on that. So
we do. So yes, that episode coming out tomorrow is amazing. She's a very gracious and wise woman. And then, of course, our shows on Monday come out with the replays of the Doctales. And we have a new segment. We are just starting coming up this following week, which hasn't come out yet. It's coming out, I believe, Wednesdays. And it is our midweek podcast we're calling Truth Bombs. So it's a short, sweet segment just to be dropping some thoughts along the week.
10 minutes. The first one is called Courage is Not an Option.
We'll just leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that.
And of course, if you haven't already seen our newsletter called Truth Serum,
please sign up.
It's easy to do by going to our website or looking up www.bsfreemd.com/truth serum. And that newsletter comes out weekly, usually Mondays, with a little bit of other inside information, writings, and thoughts from myself and Tim. What were you going to say?
Nothing. I'm done. I'm speechless, which is literally, I think it's a sign of the apocalypse. It's someplace in Revelation. When I don't say anything, shit gets real. Look for guys riding horses.
I think that's plenty. We will try to stay out of trouble. And when we come back to you guys next week, we will be back in our studio broadcasting from our sweet home. And that's all I'll say. We thank you guys. Write us a little note, send us an email, give us some feedback on our podcast platform. We really appreciate that. It really helps. And everybody asks for this, but if you rate the show and give feedback on Apple or Spotify, usually those are the major platforms that you all listen to, it really does help bump the show up and have other like-minded people find the show easier. If you're enjoying the reels that we're putting out there, and there's some crazy ones on Instagram and Facebook. Tim, he's the star of the show, getting some presents on Father's Day and Mother's Day as well, not just me. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Rumble as well. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in and sticking around with us. We appreciate you. Till next time.
Now, a final word from our sponsor. At Pearson Rabbits, they understand that life can change in an instant. It's hard to imagine that a sudden illness, injury, or catastrophic event could put you or your family in a devastating financial situation. Physician-founded and physician-focused, Pearson Rabbits builds human connections before they create quotes. Visit www.pearsonrabbits.com today and embark on a journey of safeguarding your future.
It's no secret that medicine is a bit uptight. That's why Tim and I created BS Free MD, to mix things up a little and have fun in the process. Besides, we are having these exact same discussions all the time, so we thought we might as well invite everyone to the party. If you really like us, you can get plenty more and maybe see one of Tim's cool tattoos on our Instagram or Facebook pages at BS3MD. See you next time.
But we try to keep BS3MD as raw and real as possible. We can't be held responsible for any medical decisions or discussions had as a result of what you've heard on the show. We know, bummer. But the truth is, we really do care about your questions. So feel free to reach out to us by email at doc@bs3md.com.